Hello, everyone. Just a very brief introduction about who is Axway. So we are, of course, one of the sponsors. And today, I'm not going to talk about our products. I'm just going to share with you experiences that we have running for the last 5 years, around 100 projects with clients. And I just want to, in particular, talk to you about one of the learnings that we discovered during this 5 years period and this around 100 projects, API project that we ran with our clients. If you want more details about Axway, we have a booth there, so it's not the point here. We started API management 5 years ago by the acquisition of a company named Vordel. So maybe some of you remember Vordel. Basically, it was just an API gateway at that time. And now, if I look back in the mirror, the project we held 4 or 5 years ago was more around a few guys within our clients working very closely on very, I would call them tactical projects. So, for instance, I am a large insurance. I need to power a mobile application, but I only have SOAP web services that are meant for being consumed internally. How do I do that? So API management was one of the answers to help them expose this data and services outside the boundaries of their companies. So I call them tactical projects because at that time it was mostly very technical projects, held by people that are very skilled in SOA, XML, and security. And basically, they were trying to convince their enterprise to go for API broader, but it was difficult, so they had to work, project after project to demonstrate the qualities and the advantages of using APIs. So we helped them as a supplier, of course, but it was sometimes a very difficult subject. Now, what we witnessed over the years was literally an explosion in terms of the numbers of APIs. So in the beginning, it was just 1 or 2 or 3 interfaces that need to be exposed outside and secured because it was exposing potentially sensitive data and stuff. And now, most of the applications that you are buying already have APIs. So you have the APIs you are buying with the application, like any Salesforce application has APIs, any on-premise application now offers APIs. I mean, anyone basically offers you APIs with the application you're buying. And then you have also the API that you are building, as Samir explained, internally for your own usage, and that you want to expose externally. So one of the learnings there is whether it's an API you have designed yourself or that you acquired through a product, you need to manage it in every case. It needs to be secured. You need to control the life cycle of it. You need to control also the traffic, because some applications that you bought have not yet maybe been designed to receive 1,000 calls per second. We've seen that a lot at the beginning when a customer bought new fancy applications full of APIs. They used them, for instance, in mobile applications, but the mobile applications was used by millions of their clients, and guess what? The backend just, broke and fall down because it was not properly managed, and the requests were not properly throttled to make sure that, they fulfill the SLA of the application. So to those who haven't yet started, for what business are made the APIs? Honestly, after 5 years, I would say all. In the beginning, 5 or 6 years ago, only maybe the banks and insurance companies were very highly investing in API management. And at that time, if I recall, they were representing roughly 50% of the revenue of my company at that time. And now, things have changed. You have a lot of different use cases that we have seen in very different industries, like pharma, like oil and gas, travels. Public sector is a huge consumer now. So it means any business is potentially interested by APIs or could potentially take advantage of API. I prefer it this way. This is what we witnessed. So there is nothing special here. There is no problems using APIs in any types of environments. You just ask yourself the question, do we have the creativity internally to bring something new? And then APIs will help. Successful projects, are they only relying on technology? No. Technology is there. You may know it better than I. 5 or 6 years ago, it was maybe a bit tricky to put an API platform in motion and have something secured. When I mean secured, I mean enterprise secured. Like for if you are the Ministry of Defense of your country, you need something that is really secured. If you are a bank, you have regulations to comply and you need to be really secured. But now, it's there. I mean, it's depending on what vendor you choose, what philosophy you're using in terms of evangelism internally and stuff, it's there. So there is honestly nothing to particularly crack at technology level to make enterprise adopt APIs. It's not there, so sorry. The key learnings that we discovered for the last 5 years is not about technology itself. I know it's shocking at some point, but it is not. What is emerging is the following. You see the guy in front, in center of the universe, there is what we call all of us, a customer, right? And what we've been doing for the last 15 years is trying to address this customer using channels. So it would be mobile, web, or whatever channels we tried. We all had projects named multiple channel project, omni-channel project and stuff. So the idea was, how, as a company, can I reach my customer in every potential media the most efficiently and the quickest as possible? That was what everyone was doing for the last 10 to 15 years. But things have changed a lot now. So on the right side now is how we see the market evolved. This very same user, where we only considered it through the angle of the product or services we were selling to him, actually has a life around us as a company. And he has a life in complete ecosystem around him, providing him services and data and potential new channels for you. So what I mean by here is the major learning you can take out of this very small session is use the business in your company. Involve them day one within the API project, because for once, the technology itself is about business. An API, as you may all have read for the last 24 months or so, is a product. And I always give this example. There is a company named Twilio. So I don't know if you're familiar with this company. Does anyone know Twilio? Yes? Twilio is basically a company whose sole products are APIs. And the valuation of Twilio is $6.7 billion. So when you start to think of it as the API is the product and the only product that this company is selling is worth 6 billion, there is something at business level to be taken out there, right? So what I mean is it's changing the way the business guy within your companies should think. When I say should, it depends on every company, of course, but and I think now for the IT people, the tech people around, is if you want success in your API project, you really need to educate the business people like me. Because if they are convinced that, thinking of Twilio again, 6 billion, what can I do out of it at my level, then all of a sudden, what I've witnessed personally is the project gets bigger, more interesting, more use cases, more real, more concrete, not just like a technical exploit that happened because some of the guys were really smart and they made something smart out of it. No, if you want it to boom, the business has to be involved day one and really understand what is an API, what this API can bring to my company, what products can I promote, release, market, whatever. This is maybe the major thing that I witnessed and that I now try to do with my customers is the first question I ask when I get the chance to see a customer is whether it's the CIO itself or any high-end managers is what is your business model around APIs? Can anyone in this room answer this question? What is your company business model around APIs? Anyone? See? Honestly, if the room was full of hands up, the numbers of projects, the volume of API flows would be multiplied by, I don't know, factor X, name it, depending on your business. And this is something that we are witnessing very strongly. But if I go down now in more, let's say, ROI type of presentation, This is a very small extract from one of my clients. Is a very large bank. And then I've been interviewing them after they deployed their API platform. And then I had the chance to interview their general manager. And this guy is a pure banker, you know, very gray suit and stuff. But he understood in the first place that APIs could be his own product in the end, right? So I asked him, okay, what is your vision, your view on the API program that you run now, maybe 2 years ago? And this is the results. So their first deployments, so to be specific, this bank is providing personal finance, which means credit for us when we go and buy a TV or whatever other crap at the supermarket. They provide financing for that. But they're providing as a white label. They don't providing themselves. They're providing through the retailer that you don't see. Actually, it's this bank in the back, right? They are providing them for their clients, and their clients are providing this credit to us. Their first deployment of APIs, the delay between the first contact with their partner and the go live was 2 months. So it means this bank find the clients, let's say a retailer from Stockholm, has 15 shops. He wants to offer credit to his clients. So it took him 2 months and it cost 15 man days, right? Second deployment, only 5 weeks, then managed to reduce the cost to 2 man days, the cost of onboarding of this new potential client for them. Then third deployment, all this span around 18 months, right? Third deployment only took 3 weeks and cost only 1 man day. So you see an increase, right? And the business benefit is obvious for this bank because they can get more prospect quicker and provide them service for a lower cost, right? But what is more interesting is before they had the API management solution, how long was this process? 10 months. Right? And around 100 man days average. It means for the smaller partners they wanted to work with was 100 days. For the biggest, it could be like 300 or 400 days just to connect with them and allow them to distribute their credit. So now you can see the difference when I mean, if the business is on board, then the project became a lot more powerful, right? So it's all about the business. The API itself being a product should be treated as a product, and then the business people should be day one in the room, understanding, and this is the main key learnings I want you to get out with. You need to make sure that the business in your company is educated around API management, which means this is what we have been doing with some of the CIOs I had the chance to work with, is they literally paid on their own budget, IT budget, consulting firms, not IT consulting firms, but business consulting firms, to train the C-level on API management and make them think of how an API could benefit your own business, what data could you expose and what data could you share or sell outside of your walls. And this would be maybe the best investments you would be doing for making sure that API management is something that is enterprise-wide, that is well acknowledged, that you don't need to defend yourself for getting a budget for your own project because you have to justify why this project is going to bring a ROI in the very short term and so on. It really needs to switch to the business side. And all the projects, and I've been doing this study just for me in the beginning, to understand my business. It means that all of the project that has been kind of sponsored by the business or where there were a real business outcome of the project were the faster ones, the most funded ones, and in the end, the most successful ones. Because as soon as your general manager say, we need this as a product in X months, X weeks, it depends on the company and the size of the company, of course. Trust me, the better it gets till the end, and you get less funding problem for your projects, less resources shortage, and other stuff like that, because suddenly you are not just perceived as a center of cost, but something that really and like literally creates value for the company. So that was just what I wanted to share today. So nothing technical, even if I used to be in the past. Just real life, 5 years, I've been looking at around 100 projects, how they grow, how did they scale, how big they were, and how many actual real projects were running into these APIs from internal APIs, of course, to external APIs. That's it. So if you have any question,